And you know I'd walk 1,000 miles just to see you tonight. Hello one, hello all, it is the most 1,000 miles ghost of them all, Caspa in the flesh, and it's time for a review of Westside Gunn, and then you pray for me. Westside Gunn, GriZelda's own Buffalo rapper, is back with his latest studio album, and we thought that he called it quits on the album 10, but no, Westside is back and he is here to stay. And this time around he has brought on a bunch of features on here from Denzel Curry, Ty Dolla $ign, JID, or JID, JID, it's whatever you like. Along with GriZelda label mates such as Conway, such as Benny the Butcher, such as Stove God Cook, such as Love Genius, along with Rick Ross and an appearance from DJ Drama. And I wouldn't say I'm disappointed with this album, no. In fact, I think this album has plenty of highlights, as it kicks off with Mama's PrimeTime, featuring Jid and Conway, with this gloomy boom bap style beat. And I must say, Westside really does hold his own spitting with JID and Conway, where he comes through with some technical wordplay that kind of reminds me of Big L back in the day, with of course his Westside twist. And JID just comes through with some banger bars after banger bars on here. Clip long as well. When it blocked, it looked like Clint Capella. Storytelling, selling Snow White, even Cinderella. Put a red dot in a MAGA hat. That cracker pulled me over looking like Bob Saget. So yeah, it's safe to say Jid is not fucking around here. And then we end things off with a defiant, grimy verse from Conway, pretty much showing his prowess in the game and his boss status in the rap industry. That ends off with this unhinged hand progression that sounds like something out of Tom Waits' Real Gone. And one thing you'll notice too is how Westside is getting diverse here. He is dipping his toes into trap music on here. Like on the following track, Kostas, which has this tight, shadowy trap beat. And I definitely noticed the annoying detractors online typing away, saying, "Oh, what's Westside doing on a trap beat? He should be on the grimy Buffalo style beat. What's going on? He's sold out." Which to me is just immensely harebrained, closed-minded, and I think that as long as it's executed well and performed well, then why not? Why not branch out? And why not try new things? Why not venture and add differentiation to yourself and others within the lane that you're going for? Because one thing I will say, if you've heard Travis Scott's Utopia album, you probably remember that track where we had like an atmospheric approach to the grimy style production that Westside and GriZelda are normally on. And just throwing it out there, again, that collab album, do it. And I feel he rides the track well with this almost slow motion style flow, but it works because it still has the intensity, it still has the attitude, and Conway just approaches this with the most unorthodox style here, but then again still kills it. And mind you, he's just coming out of surgery, still on like anesthesia. I mean, hey, Ye spit it through the wire, Conway is spitting it through the anesthesia. Now, I do think there are spots on here where the trap beats are just okay, or sometimes a guest will overstay their welcome on the track and not really add much to it, or just ruin the track completely. And don't get me wrong, Stove God Cooks does cook on this album with fire, but there are some spots where he does not cook well and the meal pretty much goes awry. Or, yeah, we'll say meal. That white hot meal does not go well, and the customers aren't pleased. Like on 1989, where the trap drums are super weak, you could barely feel them, and Stove God Cook's verse is just meandering, and we get the hook, and that just overstays its welcome too. not that memorable, not that strong. It's pretty much done in the track list. Suicide and Selfridges, I would say, carries more in terms of the production. I do wish that Westside had a bit more of presence here, maybe another verse, but I do dig the grimy New York style meets West Coast, like 187 Gangsta style that this track has, with these glowing, bubbling keys that goes into this orbital synth lead. And it's just something I did not expect. It sounds very galactic and very atmospheric. Again, it's a highlight for me, but I kind of wanted a little bit more. And I must say, there are some intense emotional moments on here, like Kitchen Lights with these immense weepy strings, moody bass, heavenly backing vocals, where Westside reminisces on the time where he witnessed his mother being a victim of domestic abuse, and describing him and Stove God's experience within the Coke gang. And how he told Stove God, pretty much don't get high on your own supply. And vocally, I think Stove God has really stepped it up here. And the hook is actually very memorable, very catchy, very powerful. Oh, on the kitchen light. Oh, on the kitchen light. And we also get Dunhill, which I don't think Westside's energy matches up with the production. I mean, roses, but I think this is probably the most lethargic Westside sounds on here, unfortunately. And then we get this random switch up where he starts whispering on the hook. I mean, I respect the versatility. I mean, obviously it's versatile because I didn't even know it was him, but I don't think it coalesces well with the anthemic hype trap boss beat. And when you're whispering, you're not really complimenting the theme that this track has or the power this track is supposed to have. House of Glory, we get another soulful style cut, these lavish string variations, beautiful vocal samples, but as I mentioned before, I think what really weighs this album down is its features, because I do respect the versatility, and I do think Westside does have some features that are star players, but he brings on these guests that just leave a lot to be desired and don't really match up with Westside or even his best guests on this album. Like on JD Risk, we get this hushed vocal appearance from ST Knack, and his vocals here, not only are they hushed, but also I don't think they add much else. Like, they're very one note, and it even comes off to a point where his bars are even incoherent. And on top of that, he's like barely on tempo and doesn't really bring much of anything to compensate for that. And there's also gigs on Disgusting, which I wouldn't say he sounds incoherent. He doesn't. He just sounds like an English narration to a movie, and he just does not fit this type of production well. Which is a shame, because the trap beat bangs, and I do think there's a solid hook on here. I just think by putting gigs on here, you're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. Luckily though, there's Chloe with Ty Dolla $ign, and I'm gonna be 100% honest, I've never been a huge fan of putting female artists in the name of a track by a male artist. Always thought it was tacky, in bad taste, and just clout chasing to the fullest. And in a way I still do. But, let me just stop and say that this has to be the most unhinged bedroom banger I have probably heard all year. Like, I love how the production is a mix of soulful, sensual, but also grimy. And Ty Dolla $ign sounds super passionate here. He is on a mission to please, and he is doing so to my ears. And he is just killing it vocally. I love the coalescing between Westside's grimy sexual style and Ty Dolla $ign's sensual, passionate style. Like, it's aggressive, but also keep in mind too, I do think that this track comes off very tongue-in-cheek, but I could see people taking it seriously. But as you listen to the song and you pay attention to the lyrics, obviously they're not serious here. And it's just a very cheeky, raunchy R&B jam. And it's just very cheeky, raunchy, raw R&B meets grimy rap jam. After that, we have LL Bull Gun, which is my least favorite track on here. I just find the beat to be really weak, the hook, not that memorable, and doesn't really last long for it to have an impact anyway. And there's also Babylon Bliss. And I like the dreamy boom bap production. I think that's beautiful. I think it's very ethereal. I think it's great. But there's a weird line from Westside where he says a dude tried to gay him. Like, come on, dude. Are you 5 or what? There's this very underwhelming performance from Love Genius on here. And there's this cringy spoken word outro from this dude that's like, hey man, shut that murder shit off. Shut that sad shit off, man. I only listen to Westside. You know why? Because I want to stay fly. And you know, there's nothing wrong with, listening to music that makes you feel fly or gives thanks to the Most High, but it's kind of hypocritical when a lot of Westside's bars include gun talk, and there are moments on here that are genuinely sad, so I really don't see the point of this outro, and it definitely lacks self-awareness. The following track, though, with Denzel Curry is nothing short of a banger. I love the booming bass, the icy synths, the ominous piano lines. Denzel and Westside absolutely kill it, and Denzel brings through a very catchy, cavernous hook. Westside, run it up. There's Jalen Rose featuring Boldy James. There's this very unsettling piano line that makes me feel like I'm watching a horror movie with these droning bright synth lines. And I would say the album does end off fairly strong, as we get an appearance from one of the forefathers of trap, the Snowman, Young Jeezy, with these cycling cold synths, booming bass, and Jeezy sounds so bold and fresh on here, like he never left, like he is right at home on this type of production with Westside. And there's also Freddy J's that has this old school haunting, dirty type Memphis style production, like something off of 3 6 Mafia's Mystic Styles. And then we have Revenge of Flip's Leg, featuring Rome Streets, who has been dominating on a lot of tracks lately, and this track is no exception. These nightmarish keys, bold droning synth lines, and these modulated gospel choir vocal samples that in a way complement the thematic focus of this track, like where Westside says that Flip hit the lotto and got a new leg, and then all of a sudden you hear glory to the king. I mean, I can't sound modulated, I'm sorry. I don't have the editing skill yet. Unfortunately though, I do think the last track is a bit of a snoozer and not exactly a powerful closer to the album, unfortunately. But other than that, I do think this album is an enjoyable listen. I think this is definitely one of Westside's best. Now, do I think this album is better than 8? No, but I do think that this is probably Westside's most diverse approach by far. I just wish the guest features were more consistent with quality, and I do wish the production was more consistent with quality. However, this album is a decent one, and as I said before, I think Westside is getting better and better. And with that being said, I think if he were to maybe trim down some of his projects and bring in stronger features back to back to back, or sometimes dominate some tracks on his own, which he can do with some production that is, going above and beyond, out of his wheelhouse, I think we could have Westside's absolute best. And that's not to say that 8 isn't a great album, because it is. I think it's his best one, but that's just what I think. So I'm feeling a 3.5 out of 5 on this album. Yeah, 3.5 out of 5. But that's just my opinion. If you've given this album a listen, what did you think of it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? And why? It's not the trap production, is it? Because if it is, I'm coming for you. No, I'm kidding. Caspa, Gothic Ghost, Westside Gunn, and then they pray for me. Till we meet again. Also, be sure to check out NYOKO. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Hopefully I am. But check out his stuff. He's definitely got some nice EDM dubstep with a very dirty feel to it. And I have a feeling if you dig dubstep, if you dig electronic music, you will definitely dig this. Check it out!